Hey folks, it's Brian. I had an RQG session tonight. I was wondering if I was going to be able to do it tonight or maybe sometime next week because two of my players are not able to make it tonight because of traveling and the holidays and all that. But it turns out that neither of them were going to be able to make it, on the 10th next week either. So I went ahead and ran tonight with three of my five players. I was kind of concerned about three being enough. But it did seem to work out well, but there wasn't any combat or anything either, so that was helpful. So last time we left the players, they had been talking with the Manticore. So I began this session with everybody making an intelligence roll, because this Manticore is not live. It is a spirit bound into a statue of a manticore, and it's been painted, to look real, that kind of thing. And so they're able to tell, hey, yeah, this thing is not really, it's talking, it's moving, and its tail swishing, and it's smiling at them on occasion, and that kind of thing. And it's an animated type statue kind of thing. So there's a few more questions. Oh, and if you want to watch the live play, it's in the description. They're asking questions about stuff down here, stuff that about when the spirit was captured and bound, who bounded, that kind of stuff. And so there's some information that came out. Unfortunately, I didn't have a lot of that information handy, so I had to stop and look stuff up. Not that I don't do stuff off the cuff on occasion, because I do, but when I know there's an actual answer that ties in with other stuff, I want to give the right answer. Eventually, towards the end of the questioning, they ask about chaos creatures here, and she tells them that there are chaos creatures in the sky temples, the way she put it. And they ask, well, how do I get there? And she says, well, the easiest way is through the dragon newts. But I had rolled really low, so it was essentially a special result. So she said, but there is a shortcut through the secret passage. Secret passage. So they ask about the secret passage. They find out where it is, and she, says that there's lots of passages to go through. So it's gonna, while the physical distance is shorter, depends on how well they actually go through to get to where they're going. And then Lars starts asking some specific questions about Kareen, the amulet, his sister, and the player gets a little confused. And part of that is because he was making some assumptions or surmising some effects, or was asking a question that had multiple parts. And so if any one of the multiple parts is not true, the entire statement is not true, that kind of thing, which the spirit was playing with. Yeah, she's bound here, and yeah, she's required to answer questions and stuff like that, but if she can get around it, she will. One good piece of information is that the amulet was taken by Kareen. The Manticore told him that, and that the amulet is currently in Kars. Oh, and he had an interesting question. He said, if you were me, what question would you ask you? And versus this line of questioning about Kareen and stuff. And so she said, why does Kareen need the amulet? And the answer to that is she believes that the amulet will help her gain immortality. And then Lars asks, will that in fact occur? And the spirit knew the answer to that one, is that if she survives. So apparently there's some kind of a process on taking on the immortality, that if she survives the process, then she'll be immortal. Well, after this second line of questioning, they decide to go. They want to check out the secret passage before heading back. It's getting evening time, so it's getting kind of late now. So they go to the door, and they find how to open it. Go on through. There's a short hallway, and then to the south there's stairs going down. And as they start going down the stairs, there's spider webs, and it starts to fill up the entire hallway or stairwell. And so they get the torch out, and they start burning spider webs as they're going down. Eventually come to the husk of a giant spider. Didn't really have this planned out on how big the spider was, if it's 1 hex or a 3 hex spider. I just figured it's probably just a 1 hex, which is not all that big. So, it's dead. So it's upside down, legs curled in, and they light it on fire. They burn the husk and burns the webs around it, falls to the side. They incinerate the spider husk. They continue to burn their way down. And after where the spider is, the webbing, goes to another opening that opens to the rest of the stairwell. And from there, it's pretty clear. I mean, there's stuff up above, but it's not like packed like the rest of the way was. Let's come down, and there's this large room. It's like 6 meters by 6 meters. The ceiling is well over 35 feet up. Big. And the roof is spun like a beehive. It's a Gothic arch, a spun arch, not a normal Roman spun arch, not a dome. And there's a platform that's like 15 feet up. That's got a couple gargoyles on it, and they can kind of see a door up there as well. And they look around here, and there's just the doors here. The doors here don't have handles. So Arestra, pushes on it just to see if it'll open, kind of thing. And there's a spirit trap here. The spirit has bite capability. 50% chance of doing the bite. Rolled a special success. So that's double damage. Bite does a d10 worth of damage. Arestra misses her dodge. 18 points of damage to her arm. 6 points of arm, that's 12 points to go through. Her arm's only 4 points, so that's 8 points of damage total. It would have been 16, it would have taken her arm off. That was kind of cool. But she screams, and they get the healing amulet and the magic point storage crystal and heal her up. And there were 6 used already, so they use 6 more. That's 12 out of 13. There's only 1 point left in it. But they use Engrilar has an 8-point stone, and so they use 2 points out of that to heal the rest of the 8 damage that she took. And then they use a spear to kind of, because the door does open a little bit, to wedge in between the door frame and push it open, and it glides nice and smoothly open. And there's stairs going down. At that point, they decide, okay, we need to check out the one up top, see what's going up there, and they're trying to figure out how to lasso one of the gargoyles. Well, they have Subutai shoot each of the gargoyles first to make sure that it is, in fact, just a statue and not an actual gargoyle. And they are actual statues, so he loses 2 arrows, getting busted. Actually, 3, because he missed the second one first time. And so they try to figure, okay, we lasso it up with something heavy enough like an axe, or will a dagger do it, or do we use a spear? And they finally decided to go with the spear. Spear and axe, I think, would have worked. I had envisioned in my head, throwing it over the top so they pull something, it catches on the back of the gargoyle, through the wings or the back of the head or something, right? But they were thinking more of, throwing it around the gargoyle. And I was looking from the opposite ends, But something dawned on me. If you're in front of the south gargoyle, you're throwing at the north gargoyle, you could get behind it easily. That might come around. So that's what they do. They throw it with a spear. It gets around, comes down, but not all the way. So they gotta have somebody up to pull it down. They do a little slip knot thing and they start climbing up. Restra goes up first, and then Engrilar. Marissa's kind of checking out the door. It's got handles and a lock mechanism. Um, so they try to jimmy it, doesn't work. Engrilar tries to jimmy it, doesn't work. They bring Engrilar, not Engrilar, they bring Lars up. He tries to jimmy it, doesn't work. They finally bring up Subutai and Otto. Subutai tries and isn't able to do it. Otto does. Otto's able to jimmy the thing open. So it opens up into this really large room with these 8-foot pedestals. And on each one of these pedestals, there's 10 of them. On top of each one of these pedestals is a large carving of various creatures. There's a sphinx and a minotaur, a dryad. The first one to look at is a hydra, an 8-headed hydra. But there's all these things. There are harpies in there. I don't recall the rest offhand, but 10 different mythological type creatures. And as they're looking around, eventually Ingrid knows, hey, look at the eyes on this one, they're gems. So they start looking around, and sure enough, the eyes of every single creature is some kind of gemstone. There's also a doorway to the north, which we haven't really checked out yet, and then to the south, to the west, is a curtain that goes across the whole room. To go and Arestra uses her axe to pull back from the left side the curtain and pulls it back, and there's bars behind us. She pulls as far as she can, yet bars, and not wide enough for a person to get through. Maybe if they had a duck, he or she might have been able to get through. That kind of thing. Maybe something the size of a Dragonute Scout. I'd have to actually check the size of that to verify. And so they move to the middle, open up the curtains, and sure enough, there is a gate there in the bars. And there's some crossbars kind of stuff going around, but in the middle is this plate mechanism that there's a lock inside there. So they try to jimmy it, nobody's able to jimmy it open. And so Lars, who's very strong, tries to bend bars on this thing. And that's one of the issues that I've had with RQG is things like how much light, how long do torches last? What is the size of a door if you're trying to bust open a door with your shoulder? The mechanism, I understand. It's going to be a strength versus size kind of thing. How tough are these bars? How tough are bars? I don't know. So I just kind of swag 20. But this lock mechanism has a modifier. It's very well done. And so Lars tries to bend on the bars, and he rolls well enough to get some movement out of him, but he's not going to be able to bend the bars, right? So I think, okay, if we get everybody pushing on these things because it goes in, because the hinges are on the other side, push on to go in, and then Lars is trying to do this Jimmy thing with his strength, maybe they can get it to pop open. So we do a quick little calculation of averages of their strength, and then I do an average of the bar's size, which I just kept at 20. We didn't know who one of the players, Otto, we didn't know what his strength was, so I just made it the average of the party strength. Just keep it simple. So I figured out the average party strength, and then they have Otto use his air rune to invoke. Use his air rune to inspire them all. He invokes his air rune to inspire them all to give them a bonus to get a plus 20 for that. And then we'll do the calculations. We have Lars with the largest strength roll for the party, and he rolls, and even with there's a negative modifier for the lock, but there's a positive modifier for the air rune, so those essentially cancel. And they rolled low enough that popped it open. Okay, so we go in. On the far side, there is this throne. Appears to be roughly or crudely put together, but it's been gold plated or what do they do? The gold foil kind of stuff. Human size, maybe a little bigger. Um, and then there's another curtain behind it. So Ingvar checks out behind the curtain. There's a pair of doors. Lars checks out the throne, and so it says, okay, do you touch the throne? Do you sit in the throne? That kind of thing. There was some questioning earlier about, maybe this is a dragon newt thing. Is there a place for a tail? No, it's not. Is it really, really big for like a big dragon newt? No, it's not. But so yeah, he's looking for like hidden compartments, that kind of thing, and he touches it. And there's a spell magical kind of thing going on here with this throne. But he made a saving throw, and so he feels a tingling. Something should have happened but didn't. Was it a good thing or a bad thing? It was a bad thing. He did do a detect magic on it earlier, and yes, it is magic. And so there's kind of, do we really want to be touching it and mess with that kind of thing? They didn't know. And that's essentially where we ended. Pretty short session, just because there's lots of conversation back and forth on the different things that are happening, that they're doing, looking at stuff, making some rolls, and that kind of deal. All in all, not a bad encounter. I ran into some personal portrayal issues because this section of the dungeon I don't have in my notes. So I had to pull it up on my laptop and keep spinning through. Plus, I wasn't expecting them to go this way. I kind of figured they'd head back to the camp. It's getting late. With the verbiage of going through the dragon news, they could always we just want to move through. We understand we're trying to get to the chaos creatures, that kind of thing. Could have worked. And I know it's all going on over there, but this little piece right here, I'm not that familiar with, and so I ended up, I have to keep checking my notes, check my notes, because there's room number 40 and room number 41, and they've got a number of 40A, 40B, and 41A and 41B, and it turns out that I had reversed the rooms. So I had put 41 where 40 was, and 40 where 41 should have been, and so 40 is going to be where 41 is supposed to be, kind of thing. So it got kind of hacked, but they don't know that. Well, they will if you watch this, but that doesn't really mean anything. It's just more my issues, not having the map for this section out with all the rest of the maps I have and write-ups for this section. And for that matter, the monsters and the creatures. Maybe I was thinking I was going to take the whole section out. There is a piece here where one part of this complex connects to another part. And I cut all that out. But I still had these two pieces because they connect to other places. So yeah, we'll see how things roll out. Happy gaming.